Hi everyone, welcome back to another session of Lightning Web Components. Today we are going to talk about refreshApex method in LWC components. So whenever you want to refresh your LWC page, you can use this function. You can import this function in your LWC component and you can use this function in order to refresh the LWC page. All right, so let's just move forward and understand this in a better way with an example. So here I have a mockup Lightning component page wherein I would be displaying few account records where I have the radio buttons in front of each and every record, and I have a button called delete account. Okay, so on a normal Lightning Web Component page, when I'm retrieving the account data using wire property, what will happen? If I select a record and if I hit on delete account, the record will be deleted from the Salesforce database, but your LWC page will still keep on showing the record that you just deleted because it maintains the cache data. Okay, so that is why it will keep you showing this record until and unless you clear the cache and reload the page. Okay, so if you want the page to be to be loaded automatically to show you the updated data, you can use refreshApex function so that you don't have to load the page in order to see the updated data. Okay, so let's move to the VS Code and get started. Let's start implementing this. So I will go ahead and create an LWC component. refreshApex demo. So if I see my mockup, I have to create a button and then I have to display account records in a table along with radio buttons. So let's just first create this button, delete account. And on click of this button, I want to call a function. So let's define a function, delete account. Okay, so I have this button. Now what do I have to do? I have to display the data in data table, right? So let me define the data table and then we'll move to the JS file and prepare all the attributes that would be required to fill in the LWC data table. Okay, so Lightning data table. Okay. Here. So what are the attributes that it actually needs? It needs key field. Okay, so first I would be giving the key field. Let's take it as ID, and then I would be giving the data. So data will get from the JS file. So for now, I'm just leaving it blank. And then what else do we need? We need columns because I want to display the data in, I would need columns, right? So this is one of the attributes that Lightning data table expects. And then I want to show the radio buttons. Okay, so that is why I would be giving it as something as max row selection, and I'm going to give it as 1. So that means it will create the radio buttons and it will allow only one record to be selected at a time. And then I also want to give something, what should happen, right? What action should happen when somebody actually selects a record, right? That means on row selection, what should happen? So we have an attribute such as named as on row selection. So on row selection, I would be calling a function, okay, where I will actually handle the selection however I want to handle it. So handle selection. So I have defined this function. Okay, so now I'm not deploying it right now because this is incomplete. I'll move to the JS. And here first I need the account data, right? So let me go ahead and create a class. Get account details. In this class, let's write a method or enable method. Okay. And I would be as I'm going to use the wire property, right? So that is why I'm making the cacheable as true. This cacheable true or false is optional when you're using the imperative method, but it is required when you're using the wire property. So let's just take the function, and I want to return list of accounts. So list account, this is my return type, and get accounts. This is my method name that I'm giving. And here I would just be returning, we have to query from the account object, select, and what are the columns that we want to display: name, phone, type, and total opportunity amount. Name, these are the API names that I'm writing in. And then total opportunity amount from account. And let's just put a limit of 5. So it's only going to fetch the 5 latest account records for us. So we have our class ready. Let me deploy the class. And now what we have to do is we have to fetch this data into the JS file, right? So we have to import this method. So here, in order to import that, import, and we can name like, anything. Let's say ACC list from. Here you have to write something in order to fetch the account, right? The class method you have to, this is how you have to do it. Salesforce Apex, and then you have to give the class name, then dot method name. So the class name is get account details, dot method name is get accounts. Okay, so we have imported the function. So we have imported the account details, whatever this query would be returning us. Now we'll go ahead and use the wire property in order to get the data from here. Okay, so in order to use the, so one more thing, if I go back to the HTML, you can see that I'm using the data table, right? And data table would need the data that we'll get from the imported function, but it also needs the column, right? So you have to prepare the columns. So here we have to prepare the columns, that what are the columns that we actually want to display. Okay, so I am taking as this is how you can basically define the column here. Let me so there are two things that you give in the column: label and name. These are the two basic things that you give. You can add other properties as well if you want, but for now let's just only take label and field name. So account name, and then I want the field name. Okay, and field name has to be always has to be your API name. Okay, and also here it would be colon and not equals to. Your field name has to be the API name of the column. Okay, API name of the field, and where you have the API name, here you have the API name, phone, type, and these are the API names, right? Not the labels. So label you can give whatever you want. It doesn't have to match with the label that is given in your org. You can name it however you want, but the field name has to be exactly same as the API name that you want to display. So for name, the API name is just like this. And let me just copy this. We want to show 4 columns, right? So phone, type, and here it has to be the API name. And let's get the API name of total opportunity amount. Okay, so we have the columns now. And as you would want to fetch these columns to your HTML, let's just define another property. So you can give something as, or anything, you can name it the way you want. I can name it also as columns, and then I will assign this to the columns property, and then I can use this columns in my data table columns. All right, now we need the data. So how you will get the data? If you guys remember from previous sessions, if you already know how to use the wire property, it's well and good. If you don't, I would suggest you to watch previous videos. Okay, so because I'm not going to explain each and everything, so this is how you actually use the wire property. So wire, and then the method that you have imported, this is account list. Okay, and after this you can, like, name it anything, like, whatever, let's say, like, wired accounts or something like that. You can name it whatever you want, wired accounts. Okay, and okay, let's just keep it like this for now. And what else do we need? We need the data, right? So the data has to be, so I will be defining something else over here, because the wire property, it always returns you the promise, and the promise contains two things, data and error. Okay, so if the data is not empty, then you can display the data in your HTML file, and if you have any error in your response, all right, then you can also, like, store the error in some property, and then you can, like, display that in your, on your HTML page template file. Okay, so here I am taking another property, defining another property is accounts. So here I am just going to, let me first, okay, so wired accounts, and whatever the result that I will get, right? Let me remove this. So this is the result that I would be getting, and this is going to be, like, this will contain the data and the error. So I want to see if there is any data. Okay, if the data, I mean, if it has returned some data, then what I want to do is I want to transfer the data to my accounts property. So data, okay, and sorry, result dot data, because I'm receiving it in result. So result dot data. Okay, and if there is any error, right, then what I want to do, I want to, let's just put it something like this, else if error, then I want to, let me make some space, and for error, right, let's create another property, error. So let's keep it error, and from result I want to transfer the error to error property if there is any error. Okay, so this is how you can, like, now if I use this accounts on my data list, accounts would be displayed. Okay, so this is the basic setup that you can, like, fetch the records from the Apex method, and you can display it on your HTML file. But now what do we have to do? We have two extra things. If you see from the, like, if you observe the template, we have to write two things, right? That what should happen when I actually select and when I actually click on delete. So if I select any record and click on delete account, then that account should be deleted, right? So what do I have to do? If I go back to the HTML file, you can see that um, I have defined a function, right? Delete account. That what should happen when I actually click on the delete account. Okay. So in LWC component, we have, like, we have a method, we have a function. You can say we have a function called delete record that you can actually import and use. So let's just go ahead and import that function. So I would be importing delete record function. This is the name of the delete record function that we have, delete record. And this basically resides in UI record API. So you have to import it from UI record API. Okay. So this, and then lightning, sorry, UI record API. Okay. So now you have the delete function with you. Okay. All you have to do is you have to just use it. Okay. So if I go back to the HTML, this is the name that I have given, right? Delete account. When somebody clicks on the delete account button, then what should happen? So I will, let me just execute this function, delete account. Okay. So in delete account, what will I do? I will simply use this function, okay, delete record, in order to delete the data. Okay. So delete, let's just copy this, delete record. Okay. So delete, in delete record, if you, so what do you actually have to delete? You need to know, right, what is selected out of the, like, the list that you have displayed. So what do you need? You would need the selected record, right? Which record is being selected, correct? And how will you identify that? if you guys remember from previous examples, using event, we can actually get the value, right? Whatever the user is like, basically in, if he's providing, let's say, any input, or if he's doing any action, on change action, anything, whatever he's doing on the UI, we can receive it using the event. Okay. So in order to get this selected record, right, which record is selected, in order to get that, what we can do is we can use the event and get the selected record. Okay, so first let me go ahead and create another property, selected record. Okay, so whatever the record is selected, I am going to store that into this particular property, selected record. Okay, so before we complete this function, let's just go and see the other one, right? Handle selection. So handle selection is here. So whatever record is being selected, I want to fetch that record ID, right? So that I can actually use the delete record method and provide the ID that which record has to be deleted. So handle selection. So handle selection, and I am going to use the event in order to get the selected record. Okay. So if let me just, so what, how will I get this selected record? Using event, right? So event dot detail and then dot selected rows, and as it is a radio button, only one would be selected, but it will it's a list, right? It's gonna return you a list, so that is why I'm providing in here as 0 and dot ID. So this way I will get the record ID. Okay, the one which is selected from the UI. So I have the selected record now. Okay, so once I have the selected record, what I can do, and here, like, you can do one more thing. Let's say if nobody's selecting anything and directly, like, click on will click on delete account, then it will basically, like, doesn't make any sense, right? So it's, whenever you are writing such thing, it's always a good practice, like, it's the best practice is to always provide a check whether anything is selected or not. So we can also provide a check over here if the same thing, right? Event dot delete and then selected rows dot length is greater than 0. That means something has been selected. Okay, and let me put it inside this. Okay, so now we have the selected record, and now we have to use this into the delete record function, right? This is the function that we are trying to use. Okay, but this function will actually need that, what do you actually want to delete? So this dot and selected record, right? This is the one that we want to delete. And in response of this, again, like, it is going to return us a promise. So we have to, what do we have to do? We have to apply then and catch. So if it returns a success response, then we have to that, like, if we want to perform anything, once we get the success response, then we have to write under then. And if we want to perform anything, if it doesn't return a success and if it fails, then we have to write that under catch. Okay, so then let me just scroll it up a little bit. Okay, under then what we have to do is we have to, all right, so here let me keep this blank for now. Okay, and here let's just close this off, and then we have catch. So as I said, right, let's say if you want to perform anything, if it returns, the promise returns you an error, then you can write that under this block. Otherwise, what you have to do is you have to write it under this block. Okay, so here what I have to do is, so if you remember the conversation that we, like, had few minutes back, if somebody selects this and click on delete account, and if delete account returns me a success, that means if the account is deleted from database, then what I want to do, I want to refresh this page, right? I don't want my page to display this account anymore. So that means that refresh apex has to be performed once we get the delete account response as success, right? So what I have to do is I have to here use the refresh apex function. Now, the question is how we are going to use this refresh apex function. So the first thing is that you have to import it. So let's just go up and import this. So import, and the name has to go something like this. This is how you have to import it. You can't change the way it has been defined. Okay. And from Salesforce Apex. Let me just copy this from here. Yeah. All right. So we have imported this function. Now I can use this function in my delete success response, right? After delete success response. So let's just navigate to the delete success response here, right? This is where when I get the response. So refresh apex, but refresh apex, you have to define that what you want to refresh. And what do I want to refresh? I want to refresh the wired result, right? The result that I have here. This is nothing but my wired result, right? And where do we have the wired result? We have the wired result over here. So what we can do is we can keep the wired result in an attribute so that we can directly use that attribute over here. Okay. So I will create another property, wired account list. Okay. And let me copy this. And here, once I get the result, I will just transfer the result to this. Okay, so I have my wired account list, and this is what I want to refresh. Okay, so let me copy this, and this is what I'm going to pass in my refresh apex method. Okay, why is it showing the error? Hold on. Okay, this is not right. Yes, and this is syntactical error. Okay, and here we have to provide, this is where we have to close it. Okay, so I think we have everything. Let's just go and check again. So I have the delete account button, and I am like, calling this function delete account. So I have the columns, I have the data, and on row selection, I am actually receiving that which row has been selected. I'm taking the ID, right? And that ID I am passing into my delete account function when I am using the delete record function of Lightning Web Component. So this is my delete account method that I have defined here. And under this method, I'm using the delete record. And here I'm using the selected record, which I have received from the event, right? Because I would need this in order to identify that which one has to be deleted. And in response, I am like, when it is success, when the deletion was success, then I want to refresh the wired account list, right? Whatever the data is displayed, I want to refresh that. And if there's any error, I'm just keeping it as like, blank for now. So let me copy the meta file, and then we can deploy this and meta file. Okay. And let me go to here. Let's just deploy this. And I think I have already deployed the class, but let me just deploy this again. Now let's move to the org and see how it works. So I have to include this on the page. The component name is refresh apex demo. Okay, let me put it here. Okay. Let's just go back and check what went wrong. Result.data. Okay, here result.error, right? Result.error. And okay, I don't think I need this. Okay, let's go and check. Refresh demo. All right, so we have the component here. Let's just go and see if it's working or not. Okay, so if I select an account here, let's say ACC, let's say test 66, okay? And let me delete this. So once we delete this, as we have used the refresh apex, right? It should not show me this account anymore on the component. Yeah, it's gone, right? And if I delete this one, ACC, it's gone to, right? You're not seeing any message because I have not provided any toast message, right? That is why. But you can see that the accounts that I'm deleting, right, that is not getting displayed anymore. If I delete ACC1, if I click on delete account, it's gonna get deleted, and also it's gonna refresh the component. So ACC1 is gone, right? But now if I go back to the component and if I remove that refresh apex, then you can see what will happen. Refresh apex, where was that? Here it is, right? If I, let's say, comment this and deploy. So after this, what will happen? Even if I delete the account, right, the account will actually be deleted from the database, but on the component, it will still keep on showing me the account. Okay, so let me first refresh this, because I've commented that refresh apex, so I'm just refreshing the page once. Okay, so if I delete this and select this and click on delete account, it should not go off. And we will also check for ACC demo to, let me just open this account in my other page. So ACC demo 2, this is the account. Okay, so once we delete this account would be deleted. Okay, so we'll delete this account and we'll see that this account will still keep on showing over here, but here we'll check if the account got deleted or not. Okay, so here I'm selecting this and I'll click on delete account. See, it is not getting refreshed, right? Even though this would have been deleted. So if I go here and if I refresh this, see, you can see the account got deleted, right? But on the component, you are seeing that it is still showing. It did not refresh because we removed the refresh apex function. Okay, so let me refresh the page now. Give it some time. It's gonna load. So now, so you saw, right, that I had to reload the whole page in order to see the updated component, right? So if you're using refresh apex, you would not have to load the whole page. After the action, whatever you're performing, it will update the component for you. So that is the use of refresh apex in lightning web components. I hope at least you have got the idea that why do we use it and when do we use it. All you have to do is you have to import the function, and wherever you want to refresh the page, if you are using multiple while properties, then you have to basically be specific that where you actually want to refresh the component. All right, so here I wanted to refresh the component on delete success. That is why I had included it over here. But based on your requirement, you can call this method wherever you want. All right, so this was it for this session, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay tuned. Bye bye.